Some people like unpredictability. Me? I like to know everything is perfect in my hotel. And that's why I always use Trivago.
This is a severe weather alert on WHNT News 19.
We have a tornado warning that is in effect for northern Cullman County. You see it crossing just about this thunderstorm. The head of the thunderstorm is about to cross over I-65. The center of the circulation is now located in northwestern Cullman County, where you see this hook just north of Jones Chapel. This is west of South Vinemont. This is moving towards the east at about 20 miles per hour. So what I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit closer to this circulation so that we can get a better view. There we go, Centerville, West Point. That circulation is just west of West Point. So if you are, say, along a state road here, 57, County Road 1242, southwest of Centerville, if you are east of Dripping Springs, you need to go into your safe place as soon as possible. You see this pendant here on the radar signature. This is likely where we would see that tornado possibly located. I'm going to show you where we would see that rotation on the radar here. West Point, just east of Dripping Springs, just northwest of West Point, State Road, what looks to be 157 here, and this is just south of Centerville, moving towards the east, getting close to I-65. So that's the main concern with this particular thunderstorm. I'm going to keep it on this particular data point so that you can see where that bright red and that bright green come together. That's where we anticipate the greatest amount of rotation to be occurring, and it's moving towards the east at about 20 miles per hour. So South Vinemont, it'll be moving into your area at 7:30, and right now it is 7:10. But honestly, from Longview all the way up to say Centerville, I think it's just south of you, but it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and get into your safe spot. Longview, you're going to want to keep an eye on this. Go ahead and get in your safe spot. If you're along I-65 from the Cullman-Morgan County border all the way down, getting down towards Pine Hill, you need to be monitoring the situation, especially if you know of anybody who is traveling or planning on traveling along I-65. Here's a look at that radar signature once again, where we would see that center of circulation would be just to the east of Dripping Springs, and I would anticipate that being just right on top of West Point. So if you are living in West Point, you know somebody who lives in West Point, you need to go into your safe place immediately. Perhaps if you know somebody may be out and about for their Friday evening, go ahead and give them a call, give them a text message, let them know that that circulation right on top of the West Point area. We're now getting a new data scan moving into, here we go. So this is the new data scan from Armor. Essentially, we're seeing that we have the same amount of rotation that's associated with this particular thunderstorm. And again, this is in northern Cullman County, and all this is moving towards the east at about 20 miles per hour. So again, if you're in West Point, you need to be in your safe place at this time. South Vinemont, I would go into your safe spot as well. And if you know anybody who is in North Vinemont, maybe Providence, Dyer's Crossroads, let them know that this is going to be moving their way. Again, if you know anybody who's going to be traveling along I-65 over the course of the next 15 to 20 minutes, you need to let them know that we do have this tornado warning that is in effect for North Cullman at this time. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and give you a home view as to what is happening here in North Alabama. So for the most part, we have this line of thunderstorms extending from Jackson County all the way down towards Cullman County, and again, more thunderstorms that are extending into northern Lawrence County. But right now, the one that is the most significant, the one that has many of us concerned and why we have that tornado warning in effect at this time, is this one located in North Cullman County. So this is South Vinemont. This hook that you see, this pendant that you see right there, that's right on top of West Point. This particular storm is moving towards the east at 20 miles per hour. And again, with this radar signature, this is concerning. This does have the potential to be producing some rotation within it. So South Vinemont, you'll want to keep an eye on this particular storm. And again, if you live in Falkville, if you live in Lakon, if you live in Good Hope and you're planning on traveling along I-65, now is not a good time to do so. Please wait until perhaps the 8 o'clock hour. Let this particular thunderstorm move its way on through before you think about traveling along the interstate. So right now, that is the main concern. It is North Cullman County, very close to the Cullman and Morgan County line here, just south of Lakon. getting to the South Vinemont area, and it looks like that circulation may be just on top of the West Point area. So I'm trying to center this up, give you a sense as to where we think the circulation would be. And again, where you see this wrapping around like this pendant, this hook echo, that's where we would anticipate the majority of the rotation to be. Now, the good news is that I'm looking at this particular radar product, the base velocity product, and right now it's showing that we're seeing that rotation broaden out. That is a good trend to see. Instead of the tightening of the rotation, a broadening of the rotation is a good trend, but we don't want to see any kind of rotation whatsoever. And unfortunately, we do have that here where we have this reddish pixel next to these green pixels. That lets us know that we are not in the clear just yet. I'm going to quickly survey to see if we have any potential radar debris being picked up. And right now, this radar data is a little on the messy side. I do have my colleague, Gabrielle Diebler, here in the studio with me. So, Gabrielle, if you see anything, feel free to pop in and let me know if you have any updates. But for now, we have this tornado warning that is in effect for Cullman County, northern Cullman County. So this is south of the Morgan County border, but keeping an eye on this in South Morgan. So again, Gabrielle, I'm looking at Massey, I'm looking at Falkville, Lacon. We're starting to see that also starting to become a serious situation that we want to keep an eye on as well. But for now, the tornado warning is in effect for North Cullman County, just on top of the West Point area, moving its way towards South Vinemont, towards the east at 20 miles per hour. And essentially that center of circulation looks like it's starting to broaden out. So that means that the storm is weakening, but it may cross over I-65 over the course of the next 15 to 20 minutes. So please keep an eye on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to my colleague, meteorologist Gabrielle Diebler, for any other updates here for throughout North Alabama.
Yeah, of course, the tornado warned storm in Cullman County is going to be our primary concern here. We've been talking about that for the past almost nearly an hour because we've been watching it since it was in Winston County and moved into Cullman, and it had at least some broad rotation in it really that entire time. So we've been watching it pretty closely. We still see, as Christina mentions, broad rotation not as tight or as indicative of what we would expect to see if there was any kind of lowering of the cloud base, things like that. So we'll keep a close eye on that, but I do still want to make sure that our entire viewership is being taken care of, because we have some pretty strong storms also across other parts of North Alabama, and particularly in Jackson County. We had a few reports of some wind damage through parts of Jackson County with this heavy rainfall that you can see coming down right now from Hollywood, stretching to Roseberry section and Langston, seeing some of that heavy rain coming down. Some lightning in here as well, enough lightning that we could still see some damage from that. We've had a few people sending us in some photos from lightning damage on trees. Keep in mind, if you can hear lightning, you are close enough to be hit by it. And then heavy rain coming down, although these storms do not look so strong that I see any guarantee of hail in them. That's possible, but these do look to be weakening some, which is good news for us, but still something to keep a close eye on. And we'll go ahead and turn our attention back now down towards Cullman County and take another look at this storm. It certainly looks like it's weakening just from this viewpoint. We don't see a strong hook as we did earlier from the reflectivity that we're looking at right now on Armor radar, and the velocity also not looking as promising there. So we're going to keep a close eye on this storm, and I'm going to breeze through some of our reports and see if I notice anything coming in at this point. And it doesn't look like we have anything new, but hopefully this is an indication that there won't be anything to report from this storm. That's what we hope to see. Christina, you have something here?
Yeah, just at the moment that you had that thought, Gabrielle, National Weather Service just reported that they're getting some confirmation of trees, power lines, and maybe structural damage out of the Cullman County EMA. So the EMA, in the Emergency Management Agency in Cullman County, is reporting that they may be seeing some confirmation of trees, power lines, and maybe structural damage out of Cullman County. Again, that would likely be in the West Point area where we saw the most impressive radar signature just a few moments ago. So that's the latest information for you, Gabrielle.
All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and circle this area where we think some of that damage could be at. That's in that West Point region, the West Point community, particularly just to the north there, stretching towards Centerville. All of these areas, make sure you're in your safe place place real quick. We'll go over that. You want to make sure that you are in the lowest part of the building that you are in, whatever structure you're on. You want to be on the lowest level of it. You want to be away from windows as interior as possible. If you can put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, that's the place that you want to be in. And we are talking about the West Point community, Longview, South Vinemont, stretching towards I-65 there, from Pine Hill up through North Vinemont as well. You need to be in your safe place. If you don't have a basement, that's okay. You can use an interior room such as a bathroom or a closet. Just make sure that you are as far away from anything that is adjacent to the outside as possible, and that'll be the best place for you to be. New scan, this still is looking like it's broadening, but tight enough that it still would be alarming to me. I would still look at this and think that there is something to be said about this rotation. It's still broad, but it is still there now, right over I-65 with this newest radar scan that has come in. So we'll go ahead and take a better look at this. If you zoom in a little bit closer, I know this is getting extreme of a view, but for those of you in these communities, you'll probably recognize it. Longview, South Vinemont, you are out of time to get in your safe place. Get there now. Make sure that you are being safe. If you have them with you, if you can, pillows over your head. If you have helmets, that's even better if you happen to have them. This is one of the reasons we talk about preparation so much. Hopefully you have done that. If not, still go ahead and get to your safe place now. Put another track on this. When we track these storms, we'll flip it back over to reflectivity quickly here just so you can see what the storm is looking like. It looks like it has started to redevelop that hook feature, which is often indicative of tornadic activity. That's why we're going to be keeping a close eye on this. I'm not seeing any more confirmation besides some of that damage that we got out of Cullman County, which would likely be near the West Point area from where that rotation was very strong when those reports were coming in. But that rotation now would be headed towards Longview. So when I put a track on this, I'm not tracking the entire storm. I'm going to be tracking where I think that rotation is going to be to get you a better idea of where the most dangerous part of the storm is. That's where you need to be in your safe place from. Otherwise, going to be a lot of heavy rainfall. It's going to get very noisy before that area of rotation gets to you. All right, enough of that. Let's go ahead and put the track on it, and we'll see if we have an armor track coming in. It looks like not, so we'll go ahead and put regular track on this, moving around 20 miles per hour, and it's been moving almost straight off towards the east here. That puts it in South Vinemont around 728, so not a lot of time from there. Christina, I'm not seeing any other storms that are giving me great cause for alarm, so just real quick to zoom out and talk about the rest of the Tennessee Valley. If you do have us on and wondering about your area, heavy rainfall over northern Lawrence County. We did have some pretty heavy storms that sat over Lawrence County for quite some time earlier this evening, so something that could cause a problem there would be any localized flooding if you have problems with that. And then along Morgan County into Marshall and Jackson County, some very heavy rainfall. DeKalb County, you have not seen the heaviest rain yet, but that'll be coming to you here in just about 10 to 15 minutes. But no other storms at this point that look significant, especially as compared to this one down in Cullman County. When you're zoomed out far enough, it doesn't look that menacing, but when you zoom in, you can see that hook that we often talk about, indicating some of that rotation here. This is a feature that we often keep a close eye on, and this storm also has been featuring that hook for quite some time, almost since it moved into Cullman County about a half hour ago. And then flipping over to the reflectivity, the different colors next to each other that we've talked about, the red and the green, that shows us rotation because these describe what direction the wind is moving in relation to the radar. So when we see different colors next to each other, that shows that the winds are moving in different directions. That's how we're able to identify rotation, even if it is fairly broad, although this looks like it is starting to look pretty good here along I-65 in terms of rotation. So still something we're going to be keeping a close eye on. I'm not seeing any more reports at this time of confirmed damage, but we'll be keeping a close eye on those reports for you, Christina.
Yeah, absolutely, Gabrielle. As you mentioned, so far, the Cullman County Emergency Management Agency has confirmed some sort of damage associated with this particular thunderstorm that is now east of West Point. It's northeast of West Point, and it's now just to the north of South Vinemont. Vinemont, and it's about to cross over I-65. Now, for any of you who are watching in South Morgan County, just south of Massey, south of Falkville, Lacon, you'll want to keep an eye as to what is going with this particular structure. So Gabrielle and I are going to be monitoring this over the course of the next 15 to 30 minutes and see how that happens to develop. But as we go into the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to keep our eye on as to what happens with this particular storm that is just to the west of this northwest of South Vinemont, moving towards the east at a good 20 to 30 miles per hour. So South Vinemont at 7:27, I think that's when that center of circulation is going to arrive. Fairview at 7:50 if it happens to hold together. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to do a track for those of you who are in the South Morgan County area. Again, because I'm keeping my eye on this. This can sometimes be what we consider a developing hook echo. So for those of you who are right along that Cullman County line for perhaps, say, the Cullman County, Morgan County area, say Lacon areas and those areas, locations in that area, that's what I would anticipate. So I'm going to zoom in, try and get a little bit more locations here on this particular map. This is going to be just north of Battleground, north and west of Battleground, just north of County Road 1101, and going to be what looks to be State Road 157 here. So this particular pendant, this looks like it might be developing. We're keeping an eye on this particular situation. The data looks a little messy, but again, where we're seeing those reds and those greens right next to each other, that's something that we're going to continue to monitor with time. But for now, we do have that severe thunderstorm warning, that tornado warning that is in effect for North Cullman County until 7:30. So we still have another 6 minutes associated with this particular thunderstorm through 7:30 p.m. It looks like it is now east of I-65. Looks like it is now north of South Vinemont, and it looks like it's in the northeastern corner of Cullman County. Now, the great thing is we're starting to see that rotation, that hook, that pendant, that really looks like it is squashing. It looks like this particular circulation may potentially be falling apart. I see a few pockets of these bright greens here where we may potentially see some of those brighter colors may correspond to some of those stronger wind gusts. Right now, 24 to 35 miles per hour does not seem all that strong. With that said, 35 miles per hour could knock down some patio furniture if you still have it outside. We consider severe thunderstorm winds to be 58 miles per hour or greater. This particular thunderstorm is what is under the tornado warning for North Cullman County, and it looks like it's going to really fall apart before we go into the next 5 minutes. But with that said, if you're in North Vinemont, if you're in Longview, South Vinemont, especially looking at this, what looks to be a dog leg coming out here, so this may be a new outflow boundary in South Vinemont, and sometimes those outflow boundaries can kick up our next circulation as we go through time. Dyer's Crossroads, Pleasant View, you're on the edge of this. Gold Ridge, Providence, North Vinemont, you are in the center of the heaviest of that precipitation, the heaviest of that rain. Providence, I think that's where you're going to have your strongest winds, and Dyer's Crossroads, I think that's where you're going to have your strongest winds as well, but well below those severe limits. We're waiting on that that tornado warning to come to its completion, if you will. Right now at 7:26, it expires at 7:30. And what we're also doing is keeping an eye as to what is going on with this thunderstorm that is just north of Cullman County, extreme southern Morgan County, just to the south and west of Falkville. And I'm going to take a quicker look or a closer look as to what is going on with this particular thunderstorm. But Gabrielle, again, if you see any updates, feel free to let me know and pipe in if you see any additional news, storm reports or anything like that. But it looks like we're not seeing that particular storm here in extreme southern Morgan County really strengthening at this time. So Gabrielle, what other updates do you have at this moment?
Well, we are keeping a close eye on the storm in Cullman County. I would just go ahead and give some all clears for some of us. The West Point community, that's where we likely could have seen some damage from this storm. I think one of the more likely areas where we could have seen damage in the West Point community. But you are all clear that storm has moved off onto the east now, West Point as well as in Centerville. However, with that being said, as Christina has mentioned, we're keeping a close eye on this next storm coming in that is currently north of Cullman County. It is in Morgan County, just on the southern edge there, moving along I-65. So that's going to stretch from Falkville and then into just the border of Cullman and Morgan County. Something to keep a close eye on here. Neither, if we look at reflectivity, has a particularly strong signature for rotation, but still a broad signature of rotation. So any small indication of that obviously gets us on our toes and makes sure that we are keeping a close eye on it. This tornado warning that we're keeping a close eye on here for Cullman County, that is still in effect. It is set to expire in about 2 minutes. However, they are going to extend it. Thank you, Christina. I was about to say, however, I would not be surprised if they went ahead and extended this warning a little bit farther on, because that rotation is still there. And even though it has broadened some, it had done that before as well and then tightened again. So it's been bearing some rotation in it since it entered Cullman County. And because of that, we're keeping a close eye on it, because it has tightened enough at a few times to certainly give us cause for concern here. Rotation now has crossed past I-65 and is now moving towards South Vinemont, Pleasant View, Gold Ridge areas that need to be on alert. That is headed your way. Make sure that you're in your safe place. Again, that's going to be lowest floor of whatever building or structure you are in, and as interior as you can get of a room. So closets, small rooms like closets and bathrooms are going to be your best option, especially if you do not have a basement. Of course, reiterate, try to stay away from windows as best you can. You want to be as far away from the outside as possible. One thing to note here, this tornado warning, it does include Cullman, but Cullman is south of the storm that we are particularly worried about. In fact, this storm that we've been watching, as you can see right now, over Providence and Gold Ridge, bringing some heavy rain there, and Dyer's Crossroads, this has been moving almost straight off towards the east, right across the edge of northern Cullman County, and it's had us concerned ever since it crossed over. It had a severe thunderstorm warning on it, so even without rotation, even if there is not a significant threat of a tornado here, which we do think there is, but even outside of that, we are expecting there to be some high winds with this. Winds up to 60+ miles per hour can still do a good amount of damage to it. So even that tornado threat aside, it is still a strong storm in its own right. Heavy rainfall, as you can see. So we'll go ahead and zoom in. We're going to do another track. And again, I've said this before, but just so that you understand what we're doing here, we're going to be tracking where we think the rotation is, not necessarily where we expect the heavy rain to start in or the bulk of the storm to be. The rotation now, just real quick before I put this track on it too, looking at this latest scan, it does look like it's starting to tighten some again. It was pretty broad there for a minute, but this looks like it could be tightening up again. These storms cycle like that quite often. That's why we never take our eyes off of them. We'll go ahead and circle where that circulation is. You can see those two different colors right next to each other. The green indicates it's going toward the radar, and the red indicates that it is going away from the radar. That's one of the ways that we can view where we think rotation would be. So that causes that rotation in storms like this. So that would be right over Dyer's Crossroads, where that rotation is going to be, and headed toward Pleasantville and Gold Ridge right now. So two areas that you need to be in your safe place right now. And then we'll put a track on this so that those of you still waiting for the storm to move over will know when you are going to be expecting that to move past. And then once we can give you the all clear, we will give you all the all clear, and that's not going to be the case for South Vinemont, Pleasantville, Gold Ridge. Still going to wait just a little while longer before we're comfortable doing that. 20 miles per hour off towards the east. That puts it in Fairview around 7:52. And Christina, I see they have gone ahead and extended that warning.
Absolutely. So essentially that tornado warning continues until 8 p.m. Confirmed tornado located near South Vinemont, moving towards the east at 20 miles per hour. There are train spotters that are on the storm. They are seeing some visuals out there, whether they're wall clouds or rotating wall clouds, but essentially moving towards the east at 20 miles per hour. The storm is located near South Vinemont. This particular tornado warning has been extended through 8 p.m. and that is going to continue to move in the direction of Blount County. But with that said, I know that we tend not to do a whole lot of coverage for Blount County, but downwind of that is southern Marshall County. So we're going to continue to monitor this particular thunderstorm as we go into the next several minutes. In fact, possibly for the rest of this afternoon and evening. As long as there's a tornado tornado warning in effect. We'll continue to monitor this particular storm. Again, it's headed towards Baileyton. Now in that tornado warning, it is just south of Arab. So if you're in Arab, Boaz, this is one of those storms in which this is going to scoot just to the south of you, but you may want to maintain the vigilance on it because of just how quickly some of these circulations have been spinning up this afternoon with regards to whether we see a tornado or not. They can, only last about 5, 10, 15 minutes, but we want to make sure that you are prepared for that as it approaches your area. So I'm going to pause this radar once again, give you a sense as to where this is happening. Again, this is now in northeastern Cullman County, just essentially towards the north of South Vinemont. This is approaching Fairview, and this is all moving towards the east at about 20 to 30 miles per hour. Notice how Huleco looks like you are straddling that tornado warning. I think this is going to be just to the south of you, but you want to maintain vigilance if you're going to be perhaps moving or just have any plans to go down towards Cullman County for the rest of this evening. As I mentioned, Arab along 231 as it continues south, moving into the Blount County area and then extending down towards Marshall County. You will want to maintain keep an eye on this, maintain some vigilance, if you will, be weather aware again for the rest of this evening. So here's a look at the big picture for the rest of North Alabama. We do have a broken leg of thunderstorms. We see the various kinks in the line here along Jackson County and the DeKalb County line. Right now, these are below the severe limits, but for Henniker all the way down to Sylvania, of course, it's going to be very heavy rain. And we know also for the Sand Mountain area, sometimes when you get these thunderstorms moving into this region, you do tend to get those quick spin ups. So we will continue to monitor that for the Sand Mountain area. Down towards Grant, getting into the Union Grove, Scant City area, again, as you get into this terrain, sometimes we tend to see some quick spin ups as well. And that's why I'm saying for Arab, Boaz, south, moving even further south towards the Polly Pond area, keep an eye as to what is going on here for the rest of this evening, because as this line continues to jog towards the east at 20 miles per hour, eventually we get a little bit more development down the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick path here for the line itself so that those of you who are downwind, if you will, say Arab at 736, Hustleville a little bit later, 8:23. In fact, Arab now, to be honest with you, Baileyton at 7:39, Hustleville at 8:23, Hyatt at 8:24, High Point at 8:31, Albertville at 8:32. This is something that you'll want to continue to monitor as we go through the rest of this evening. But keeping our eye on the cell itself, on the thunderstorm itself, I'm going to do a quick zoom in here and essentially give a quick update as to what is going on with the thunderstorm itself. So just north of Mount View, that's where it looks like if there is any, so it looks like there's still some broad leftover rotation. It's been weakening over the past 30 minutes or so, so that's certainly good news. But even though it's been weakening, anytime we see any of this red next to that green, that gives us pause, that makes us still want to be on our toes with this particular situation, because it really, as it gets into the terrain of Sand Mountain, of the Cumberland Plateau, we've noticed that the atmospheric physics tend to work with this, and sometimes you can get a quick spin up. So that's why we're here for this evening. So Fairview 756, if this were to hold together, this would continue over the course of the next 30 minutes or so. Talking about Gold Ridge, County Road 747, County Road 1655, the County Road 1518 area. That is an area that you're going to want to monitor. If you have not already gone to your safe spot already, you need to do so, whether it's the basement or the lowest floor in your home, or perhaps even if it's the closet. If it's a central closet area, that's where you are going to want to go. I'm going to quickly look at a product, what we call CC. Essentially lets us know where we may possibly see some storm damage, and where we see this pink area here, that would be where your heavy rain is located. But the Mount View, Gold Ridge, just south of it, along the Pleasant View area, this is an interesting area that will want to continue to monitor for potential storm damage, whether it's a tornado related or if it's a straight line wind related situation. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset, give us a big picture view as to what is happening here in the Tennessee Valley. So far right now, we are keeping our eye on this tornado warned thunderstorm that is currently in Cullman County, northeast Cullman County at this time, moving towards the east at 20 miles per hour. So that is going to put it eventually into the Blount County area as well as South Marshall County. So once again, and Gabrielle, I'm keeping an eye on that. It looks like it's on the reflectivity. It looks like it's trying to regain its strength. But for those of you who are downwind of this, or down the line, if you will, if this were to hold together for the next few minutes here, continuing towards the east at about 20 to 30 miles per hour. It'll be in Baileyton at 7:48, Arab at 8:06. But notice who is down the line as we go through the next hour or so. So Albertville, High Point, Horton, Douglas, Arab along 231, even along 431. We'll continue to monitor this situation. Gabrielle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss it on over to you. Do you have any updates on the latest of what's going on with the storm system?
Well, we do know that we've had reports of a funnel cloud being seen in this tornado warning. There was a confirmed tornado that could be part of the funnel cloud that was spotted by EMA as well, so something to keep a close eye on. Something interesting, though, with this storm now, it looks like it's not holding its structure particularly well, but as that happens, we're starting to see this area of rotation that we've been keeping a close eye on. Now we're looking at what could be two different areas that we might see some broad rotation on. Both look fairly broad, but still enough so that it definitely catches your attention. So areas like Fairview particularly need to make sure you are in your safe place. We're going to say Pleasant View, Gold Ridge, Fairview, Baileytown, Birdsong as well. And then also, just a note, South Vinemont, that was one of the areas in which we had a report of a funnel cloud. You are now on the backside of this storm, so it has passed you. Fortunately, you are still within the warning box at this point, but the storm has moved towards the west, so we can give South Vinemont the all clear, as well as Pine Hill, Smithdale, Cullman as well, and North Vinemont there. Now we're keeping close eye on Pleasant View. The rotation is just north of you, but you still need to be on the lookout. Some of these storms have shifted to more of a southeasterly track, although this one is still moving mostly to the east. It could start to shift, so keep a close eye on that for Pleasant View. And then Gold Ridge, Fairview, both places that we're keeping a very close eye on. Reflectivity a bit higher here to the north of Fairview. We could be seeing some small hail with this. Typically in a strong storm, a very general look at the structure of it, you would see very heavy rainfall, and then you'd start seeing hail before you see the rotation on the backside of the hail. So that's something to keep an eye out for Fairview in particular. Rotation still broad, but still there. Also not seeing a lot of lightning with this one either. Hopefully that's a sign that it could be weakening, but it's still holding together, this rotation, enough that I think that the warning will continue at least through the next 20 minutes or so until this storm finally starts to weaken some. Headed towards New Harmony and to the edge of Cullman County, toward Blount County, and then into southern Marshall County. So areas like Nixon Chapel, Pleasant Grove, High Point, Hyatt, Horton, even Douglas, you need to go ahead and be on alert. You are not in the warning at this point, but you are in the line of this storm, which is currently has a warning on it for tornado warning at this point. Areas right along 65, by the way, all areas along I-65 can be cleared from this storm. We'll go ahead and put another track on this as it continues to move forward. We'll flip back over to the velocity, or to the reflectivity. And this new sweep, actually, this looks very good in terms of that hook that we've been talking about. It looks like it has redeveloped that. It has weakened and then started to strengthen again. That hook has come and gone in the structure of the storm from radar sweep to radar sweep. We typically see storms like this that can cycle like that. So this one in particular has been able to hold on all the way across northern Cullman County as it moves eastward. So still going to be something to keep a close eye on. I unfortunately don't think that this has weakened enough that we're going to be able to look away from it anytime soon. Fairview, you're looking at this at about 7:50. Go ahead and get in your safe place now. Same for Baileyton and Union Grove as well. Birdsong, Brooklyn, go ahead and get in your safe place as well. And then areas up north near Joppa, and New Harmony, just beyond, closer to the 8:15 time for you as well. We're going to go ahead and flip back over to velocity. That's one of the easiest ways for us to try to identify rotation, but those hooks are always a good indication to us as well that at least the structure is there in the storm itself that could be producing some rotation. Those hooks form on the rotation oftentimes. Pleasant View and Gold Ridge, Simcoe, also all areas where rotation is very close, if not just over you. So get in your safe place now. Fairview, you're only a few minutes out from this. Birdsong as well, I would say about 10-15 minutes out from this. We'll go ahead and zoom back out quickly so that we can talk about some other places across the Tennessee Valley. We have strong storms across parts of Marshall County, one that I've been keeping a close eye on. Heavy rainfall in this. I think we could also be seeing some high winds with this storm moving toward Lake Gunnersville as well as Lakeview, Big Spring Creek subdivision, Alder Springs, Buck Island, Claysville, Henryville, all areas where this heavy rainfall is coming through, and I would not be surprised if we had some gusty winds upwards of 30-40 miles per hour in this storm as well. So winds can still cause some problems for you. Still something you take in seriously even if you're not right under that warning. That's why we keep a close eye, especially on these summertime storms. They have a lot of heat that they can take advantage of when they start to develop, and that can help them start to strengthen rather quickly. Heavy rain also coming down across Langston there. This is kind of the corner of what would be Jackson, Marshall, and DeKalb County. Also pretty strong storm here. Some gusty winds possible, and then heavy rainfall starting to make its way towards the I-59 corridor right along from Fort Payne up to Valley Head and Battle. We'll be watching out for some heavy rain there as well. The only other storm outside of the one that is warned that I'm particularly concerned about is going to be this one over Holiday Shores right now, headed towards Gunnersville. That could have some gusty winds with it. And then we also have on the back end of this main line that we've been watching some heavy storms developing off towards Lawrence County. Once again, Lawrence County has seen its share of strong to severe storms already, but this looks like it could even have some small hail in it. So something else to watch here. These storms in the summertime, they can seriously pack a punch. We have a weak front stalled out towards the northwest of us. That's why we keep getting these waves of showers and storms coming through from the northwest and then tracking off towards the southeast. We'll continue to see that trend through the evening until we cool off enough for these storms to finally lose some of their strength. We'll go ahead and take a look back at this tornado warning storm again. That's going to be our primary focus through the rest of our coverage for the evening, is any storms that look like they could have rotation in them, such as this. The hook echo on this is still looking good. The hook on that storm is still looking pretty good. The velocity still looking really well for rotation to be a part of that. Now moving past Gold Ridge, but still stay in your safe place, I would say at least for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then moving towards Fairview. Fairview, I think, Christina, is the town that we need to be keeping close eye on right now.
I absolutely agree. So real quick, a recap for everybody here in North Alabama. We essentially have two lines or two waves of thunderstorms that are rolling through. For those of you who are in DeKalb County right now, yes, we do have this line that is moving on through. For now, it's just heavy rain, and so we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. We are, of course, monitoring what's happening in western Marshall County at this time. I will quickly do an update for Cullman County in just a moment, but I also want to highlight that just south of Athens, so throughout Decatur and extending into Moulton, we have all of that heavy rain that is now moving into that particular area. So again, areas west of I-65 already hit hard earlier today. Yet another round of very heavy thunderstorms moving on through. But for now, the only alert, if you will, that we have in effect here for the Tennessee Valley is this tornado warning that is in effect for northeastern Cullman County. It's this area that you see in red, the red outline just to the west of Baileyton. And keep in mind, for those of you who are in central and southern Marshall County, from Gunnersville down through Arab, Boaz, Douglas, Albertville, you will want to keep an eye as to what is going on here, because we are starting to see all of this moving into the Marshall County area. But what I am going to do is quickly track out this particular thunderstorm so far moving towards the east at about 20 to 30 miles per hour. So if it were to surge, if it were to accelerate, it will be in Baileyton at 7:49. So in about 3 minutes or so, Nixon Chapel at 8:13. And keep in mind, that's the leading edge of the thunderstorm with this newest data point that just came in. It's starting to look like we're we're getting that hook to reappear once again. This hook echo is really the signature that we monitor. A meteorologist keeps an eye on this particular appendage that you see here, because what we're seeing is inflow, this inflow notch here where it goes from 0 to green, and then behind it this very deep red and orange. That hook lets us know that we may possibly have some rotation just south of Fairview. So far it doesn't look like this is all that strong of a rotation system, but with that said, it does have the history of producing a funnel cloud earlier. Cullman County emergency managers have noted that there has been some structural damage in northwest Cullman County from earlier this afternoon, about an hour or so, or I should say 30 minutes ago. So this does have the history of producing possibly some tornado damage, and that's why we want to continue to monitor this as we go through the course of this evening. So with this moving towards the east at about 20 miles per hour, again, going to be right about where we see that center of the circulation, the hook, moving towards the east at 20. Going to eventually take it out of Cullman County into the corner of Blount County, and so cities downstream, if you will. Baileyton at 801, Union Grove at 808. But Brooklyn, Birdsong, you need to be aware of this particular storm that is again moving in your direction. If you are in Fairview, that center is going to be just to the south of you, but it doesn't hurt to be precautious and go ahead and go into your safe place. If you're in Fairview, Birdsong, same idea. You want to go into your safe place. Brooklyn, Baileyton, depending on what kind of trajectory this particular center of circulation takes, you may be in the path of that as well. So go ahead and take precautions and go to your safe spot at this time. I'm going to put it back on the reflectivity, and I'm also going to put it back on the home view just to make sure that we're not missing anything a little bit further upstream, because we've been noticing a little, I would call it this trailing cell just to the north of this particular parent rotation, if you will. Towards the northwest, we've been keeping an eye on this particular storm as well, and it doesn't look like it's anything strong, does not look like there's any reflectivity associated with it. So if you're in Eva, if you are just west of Eva, that's where it's located. If you're the city of Eva, it'll be moving in your direction in about 5 minutes, if it's not already on top of you, and eventually making its way towards Ryan at 8:10, Hugh-Laco at 8:12, Hogjaw at 8:17, and Ruth at 8:18. But the main storm that has us concerned, the reason why we are here giving you updates on WHNT News 19, is because of this particular thunderstorm located in northeastern Cullman County. This feature, this is the pendant, the hook echo, if you will, where we may possibly see that rotation. And again, at this time, it may not be the most strong rotation that we have seen so far with the history of this particular storm, but it's enough that we think that we may potentially be dealing with some tornadic situations here south of Fairview, just south of Fairview. County Road 1583, getting into the Birdsong area. County Road 16, what looks to be 93, Summit Road, Baileyton, County Road 1725. You are all in the path of this particular storm, so you do need to make sure that you are in your safe place at this time. That tornado warning is in effect through 8 o'clock. We're continuing to monitor with the National Weather Service to see if we're going to see this particular storm, this tornado warning be extended along the line. So notice how the storm is now located northeastern Cullman County. This is going to continue to move into the extreme northern portion of Blount County, as well as the extreme southwestern portion of Marshall County. So Arab along 231, Hugh-Laco, this is going to be just to the south of Arab. Notice how if it continues to go due east, it may possibly just skirt to the south. But Arab, I would continue to monitor this, especially if you have any friends or any family who live south of you along 231. So extending this out a good 20 to 25 miles. If it continues to move towards the east at 20 to 25 miles per hour, it would be in the Union Grove area at 8:09. So it's currently 7:51. It'll be about 20 minutes before it makes it into Union Grove, and I would say about 8:15 by the time it gets to 231. So again, Arab, if you have any plans of traveling south along 231 over the course of the next 45 minutes, I would stay in place and and ride this one out. I'm going to go ahead and put this into the home mode for a quick recap for all of us who are perhaps watching from outside the Cullman County area, give you a sense as to what is happening for the rest of the Tennessee Valley. As Gabrielle mentioned earlier, we are also monitoring what is going on in central Marshall County here. This particular backward C feature may be rather interesting, especially with the terrain that we have here in the Tennessee Valley. Sometimes as we see some of these stronger winds interact with the valleys as well as the higher elevations of the mountains, sometimes you can get a wind shear that allows a quick twisting of the wind there, and sometimes you can get a quick spin up. So far it doesn't look like we have any rotation associated with that backward C, but that bright red that I see there just on top of Claysville, going to quickly monitor that. That bright red, again, close to what looks to be, yeah, that's 431. So it's a good thing that we had the HydroFest activities for earlier today, and it does not look like it wants to sample. There we go. So we're starting to see those winds of about 25 to 30 miles per hour here just to the northwest of Claysville along 431 as you travel down towards Gunnersville. So that is certainly something that is below the severe limits, but may produce some very gusty situations as we go through those higher terrains as you travel along 431 along the lake and along the river. But right now, the tornado warning is in effect for northeastern Cullman County through 8 p.m. Going to check in with the National Weather Service to see if they're going to extend along the line. But I'm also going to check in with meteorologist Gabrielle Diebler to see if there's any updates to any of the storm reports we have seen so far.
Christine, I don't have any updates for you in terms of storm reports. We do have some confirmed damage in Cullman County from the EMA from this storm. That does not surprise me. I would expect some high winds with this. And to be quite candid, I would expect that the storm had at some point a tornado with it, if not at least a funnel cloud with it, maybe not quite touching the ground there, but definitely some high winds. The rotation starting to broaden again. However, we've seen this trend quite a few times with this storm, that the rotation tightens quite a lot and then it broadens some and then it tightens again. That's what we see in thunderstorms, especially around this time of year. They tend to cycle like this, so it's not something that we can take our eyes off of, even when this rotation is starting to broaden some, not looking quite as impressive, so to say, as it has before. Right over Birdsong, you need to be in your safe place. Baileytown as well need to be in your safe place. Really, most areas right along State 69 there, but also New Hope, Brooklyn, Union Grove, these areas as well. It looks like this storm is starting to move in more of a southeasterly track than it was earlier. It's been moving almost straight eastward through northern Cullman County, and it has kept rotation with it, by the way, all the way through Cullman County, stretching all the way from the west side to the east side. So I would expect that as we head towards 8 o'clock, that's only 6 minutes away. So I would expect for this to be expanded, this warning to be expanded once again and extended likely into at least Marshall County. I would not be surprised to get this extended for that northern edge of Blount County, including Bright Star, Birdie, into Hopewell. And then for us here in the Tennessee Valley, looking at areas like Sidney, High Point, Horton, Hyatt, Nixon Chapel, and areas along that southern edge of Marshall County. Hook still with us in this storm. That hook has been here for quite some time. It's faded on us a few times as the storm probably weakened some before gaining its strength again, before cycling over again. But it's been fairly consistent. The storm has been pretty consistent all the way through Cullman County, and it's been cause for alarm since then. I do believe that we would have some damage from this. We had reports of damage from the western edge of northwestern Cullman County. I'm not seeing any new reports of damage, but I would not be surprised if we started to see those coming in. In fact, I would expect to see those coming in as we head through the evening hours. We always want people, including EMA officers, everyone, to be safe. That means sometimes you have to wait for the storm to pass before you can go out and see if there is damage from it. That might be the case for this evening. Once it is moved on or dissipated some, we might start to get more of those reports in. I would anticipate that at least. We are looking at some property damage possible across Cullman County. We've seen a few reports of wall clouds as well as funnel clouds with this storm. Each time we move forward, each time it weakens some. It's only a matter of minutes before it strengthens some more as well. So we're going to go ahead and put another track on it for you. We're not going to look away from this storm as long as it has rotation on it. We are going to be watching it. So we are going to be on TV continuing our coverage until we feel comfortable, until we feel certain that there's no more threat of rotation in any of these storms. And I don't think that that's going to be for some time now. All right, now that we have a new scan, actually, I'm going to go ahead and flip back over to the base velocity, because it does look like a structure is not quite as well put together here, and I would expect this hopefully is an indication that it's weakening some, but we'll go ahead and put the track on it. Like I said, it's weakened before and then geared up again, so this storm is certainly one that you can't just see that it's weakened and then look away from it. It looks like we're not getting a lot of towns in line of this track. We'll go ahead and try that again, then we'll clear it off and see if we can do it again. Make sure that we get a track on here for y'all. Zoom in some, still moving around 20 miles per hour. And by the way, Birdsong, we've been talking about you a lot because you've been in the line for the rotation for quite some time now, but that looks like it has gone ahead, moved off towards the west. So Birdsong, you can go ahead and take a deep breath, as well as Fairview. Now we're focusing on areas like Brooklyn and Union Grove, even New Harmony as well. I would go ahead and be on the watch for this storm. We'll be keeping a close eye on it for, I would say, at least the next 30 minutes or so. All right, Christina, if you want to go ahead and try to put a track on there. It seems like I am having trouble getting some cities to line up on this storm, and I'm not seeing any other reports coming in here. We're keeping an eye out for any reports from the storm. I would expect that there are some out there, so I'm going to keep an eye out for that.
Sure, Gabrielle, and just to let you know that this particular tornado warning expires at 8 o'clock. The National Weather Service has said that they're going to extend it as it moves into Blount County, and it's to be determined how far they're going to extend it. But if you are in, say, southwestern Marshall County, so from Nixon Chapel all the way up towards Arab, I would be on your toes for this. It'll be momentarily. That old warning expires in about 2 minutes, so that's when we will know at the latest how far along the line that this tornado warning will be extended. But as we mentioned, just south of Baileyton in northeastern Cullman County, and this is continuing to move towards the east at 20 miles per hour. And what I'm doing is I'm putting the track right where I think that circulation is located. So, yeah, Gabrielle, I don't know if you're having this experience as well, where we put in the track and then it doesn't look like the cities are popping up. But I'm going to try one more time. Perhaps if this were to surge a little bit faster. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so Nixon Chapel at 8:19, Hyatt at 8:23, and Douglas at 8:26. So if it continues to move into the southern Marshall County area, that is your time frame. So we're talking about 30 minutes. You have a 30-minute lead time based off of what we have seen trending with this particular thunderstorm that is just south of Baileyton. What I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit closer, get a better look as to where exactly it's located, and it looks to be right about the County Road 1716. I'm going to step off the screen because honestly it's easier to read the county roads from my side monitor here. County Road 1755, County Road 1745, County Road 54. You are essentially in the path of that circulation, is right on top of the city of Brooklyn. We are seeing what we call that hook echo, that surging downdraft, if you will, right on top of the County Road 1716 area. Taking a look at the velocity here, we're not seeing those reds and greens, but I think we have a different orientation with regards to our armor radar at the Huntsville airport. So we're going to see those colors change just a tad. But what I am going to do is get a sense of, ooh, wow, okay, 88 miles per hour. Again, trying to collaborate, or excuse me, trying to figure out what we're seeing here now that we have a different view here. But 88 miles per hour is not good news. That is potentially damaging winds if that is indeed verifying. This is also not good news. Where you see this pink, you can almost make out that hook here on what we call the CC, which is letting us know where we could potentially be seeing some storm damage, and where we're seeing these colors go from pink to yellow. This is essentially storm debris. So that is not good news. If you are northeast of Brooklyn, this is your hot spot. I'm going to draw it for you. We could potentially be seeing what could be storm damage, potentially tornadic damage, just to the east of Brooklyn at this time. So if you are just downwind of it, and again, I'm going to step off camera real quick so that I can show you and read out for you all of the different road names that we have here. If you're on Schoolhouse Road, County Road 1745, County Road 54, County Road 1749, and County Road 1753, you need to be in your safe place at this time. I do think that there's a very good chance that that is producing some kind of damage of some sort, whether it's a tornado or just a very strong to severe thunderstorm damage. But right on top of the city of Brooklyn, that is where we're seeing that potential for tornadic damage. Now, I did notice that we have this extension of the tornado warning. What looks to be should be the extension of the tornado warning. I may have jumped the gun in just a moment here, but the National Weather Service has said that they are planning on extending the warning downstream, down the line. So, Gabrielle, what is the update with regards to what we can expect with this?
Yeah, they have extended that warning. You can see it still includes the edge of Cullman County. They have not extended it all the way into Marshall County. At this point, they're going to watch the storm for a while and see if it continues to keep its strength. Still some indication of rotation here, but the reason that you see it kind of cutting off, there's the next warning. I was going to say the reason that you see it cutting off at Cullman County is because Blount County is handled by the National Weather Service office in Birmingham, so it would be up to them to issue a warning for Blount County. They have went ahead and did that to tack onto that tornado warning from our National Weather Service in Huntsville as well. So that's, I believe, a good decision on their part. I'm sure, you know, all National Weather Service offices, especially when they are neighboring like this, talk together to talk about things like this. So they have seen the not confirmed tornado, but confirmed reports that we have of some damage in northern Cullman County from this storm, and I think that they are taking that seriously as well. This rotation is about to cross over into Blount County towards Summit, Bertie, Bright Star, McLarty, and then we're also going to keep a close eye on Marshall County for this storm because it's been moving eastward enough that I would say areas of Marshall County from Hyatt, Nixon Chapel, Horton, High Point to go ahead and be on alert for this storm. It's just that northern edge of Blount County that once that storm gets past will be in Marshall, so it won't take much time for that storm to be crossing over towards Marshall County. So keep a close eye on that. If you're in Marshall County, you're not currently under any warnings from this storm. You're looking at some heavy rainfall here, but the tornado warning storm that we are concerned about still has not moved towards Marshall County, but it's going to be making its way there. Moving around 20 miles per hour, you can see what looks like some very heavy rainfall and potentially a broad area of circulation, still strong enough that warrants a tornado warning. That storm was warned through almost all of northern Cullman County, now into Blount County. I would not be surprised to see it extended into Marshall County here in the next half hour or so either. All right, we'll go ahead and put a track on this for you so that you know where it's going for those of us moving into Marshall County. So I'm going to extend this all the way through that second tornado warning for Blount County and into Marshall County. And it is moving towards Nixon Chapel at around 8:30. So we have about a half hour of that storm that's going to be moving from Cullman to Marshall County, about a half hour in between there. And in Blount County, the storm is moving into the county right now, and that includes Summit here in just the next minute or so. That area of rotation that we're watching is going to be right over you. That's 231 there, moving towards Marshall County. So it's going to cross over 231, and then just in the next 20 to 30 minutes is going to be moving into Marshall County. This storm has a history of damage with it. We do have some, we also have, looks like another report of a tornado on the ground from County Road 1422 near Lake Cacoma. This was a while back. This was from 742 of this storm. So we've been watching it for a while. We said a few minutes ago I would not be surprised if there was a tornado on the ground with this storm, and it looks like there was indeed. We have a report that that was near South Vinemont, and that was also where we had a report of a funnel cloud. So it looks like that funnel cloud probably went ahead, touched the ground, and was a tornado. I would not be surprised if what has happened is this might have lifted up a few times as that storm cycled, and that tornado was dropped there near South Vinemont around 742. And that was north of County Road 422 near Lake Cacoma. So we have confirmed tornado on the ground with this storm from, that was 742, so that is not at this moment, but it is confirmed that the storm has a history of producing tornado. It has history of damage as well. We saw that in the West Point area, and I think that we're still looking at the potential for some damage with it at this point as well as it moves into Blount County. Now that's where the bulk of it is going to be, and it looks like I'm having some trouble with my radar data once again. Christine, I'm going to go ahead and reset that and let you take over.
Absolutely, and I'm going to do a quick reset for you as well, give you a big picture view as to what is going on here in North Alabama. And essentially, yes, we do have scattered showers and thunderstorms throughout northern Alabama. If you are in, say, DeKalb County, of course, we did have some wind gusts that did produce some damage near the northeastern corner of DeKalb County. We also have some very heavy rain for western Madison County, southern Limestone County, as well as Lawrence, and moving into northwestern Morgan County. At this time, that remains below severe limits. So what I want to do is I want to, of course, reset us for what is going on here in extreme northeastern Cullman County, getting into extreme northern Blount County. But look what is next door. We do have Marshall County next door. You do not have a tornado warning in effect at this time, but you do see how this has been trending from the west towards the east. So if this is able to hold together, it'll just be a matter of time before it starts to move into the central southern portion of Morgan County. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to track that out for you. Right now, the leading edge of that storm, if that leading edge were to be moving towards the east at a good 20 to 30 miles per hour, it would be moving into Hyatt at 8:26, Horton at 8:32, and High Point at 8:34. Now, with this newest scan, this is a good trend that we're seeing here. This newest scan shows that this is looking a lot more disorganized. With that said, we have seen it cycle up throughout the course of this afternoon, and we still continue to see that broad rotation associated with it just to the north and east of Holly Pond, and this is getting close to that 231, that US 231 stretch just south of Arab, just south of where the Cullman County and the Blount County lines come together. But again, if I were to track out that particular rotation, this right where that broad rotation is located, if this continues to move towards the east at 20 to 30 miles per hour, it again would be moving into southern central Marshall County. So if it's able to hold together, Nixon Chapel at 8:23, Hyatt at 8:27, Douglas at 8:30, Horton at 8:32, and High Point at 8:35. So right now we're going to have to wait. Again, as Gabrielle mentioned, this particular portion of Blount County, in fact all of Blount County, is handled by the responsibility of the National Weather Service in Birmingham. For Cullman County as well as Marshall County, this is the responsibility of the Huntsville, National Weather Service in Huntsville. What's going on with these colors here is I think we're starting to get out